we have head coach Tyson Helton. Coach, we'll open it up with a statement, and then we'll jump into questions.
Good to be back home. Get to have another good test this week against Nevada, but it's great to be back and playing at home, and our guys are looking forward to it. And Nevada is a quality football team, gritty football team early in the season, and they do some really good things. And so we've had 2 weeks to start to prepare, and hopefully we can put it all together, but excited to get back home and try to go get a win. With that said, questions.
Yeah, obviously a disappointing loss last time out. You did have that extra time to kind of bounce back. Was it a good time for that, and how have the guys responded in practice with this?
Yeah, good question. Anytime you have an opportunity to get better, that's a good thing. Thought the guys worked extremely hard last week, tried to correct the issues that came up in the last game against Toledo. We'll see if we get them corrected. Guys were great. They love the work. I've mentioned before, they got great camaraderie together, great honor. They love to play the game. I'm big on turning the page, whether you win or lose after a game. I'm not one to dwell on the past, and so I like to think our team has that mentality as well, and so does our staff. So last week was great. We got better, and we got to get better this week if we want to go win this one.
Was it nice to have that bye week after that loss? Did it feel kind of early for you to have it this season? Or did you wait?
Yeah, I kind of liked how it's set up. It's about every 3 games we get a bye. I've never had that before. It felt a little different, because it was so early in the season. But I think it came at a good time. We had a couple bumps and bruises, and we'll get those guys back. They were able to rest a little bit and get their bodies back. So I think it came at a good time.
Do you find that after a loss, you always want to go back and correct the things that were wrong, but after a loss, does it get their attention a little bit more? Are they a little more focused on, yes, this is something that we
I think anytime, win or lose, you always want your attention, but I do think it makes you focus on what's the really important things that win and lose football games. And when you think about it from a defensive perspective, you got to stop the run, right? If you can't stop the run, it's going to be a hard day at the park, and obviously we didn't versus Toledo. And then offensively, turnovers are big, right? And first 5 plays of the game, we had turned the ball over twice. So, those are the things that you got to correct. Those are the things that you focus on, and hopefully we got those things corrected. We'll find out.
Now, the big run to start the second half, Triano, that's, you feel like you can reset at halftime, then they break a 75-yarder on the first play from scrimmage. I mean, what happened on that play?
Yeah, I said the same thing. What happened on that play? We didn't set the edge, and continue to talk about that. The defense coach has said, hey, that's my fault, and we could have gotten a better defensive structure to help the guys, but at the end of the day, you got to get the guy down. And so, again, take that bye week, focus on those things, try to get better, and that was definitely a priority for us last week to try to see if we can get that. We're going to be tested, though. They got 2 good quarterbacks, one that can run pretty well and another can do a little bit of everything. They'll definitely test us to see if we can stop the run, and so we need to do that.
This looks like a stout defensive team, too, that you're facing. Not giving up a lot of points. I guess they're averaging about 14 offensively, but, they played in low-scoring games other than the first one.
Yeah, I think, for us offensively, it's really about, you got to score points. And I felt like last week against Toledo, we moved the ball well. We just didn't finish the drives, I felt like we could have scored 35. And so we offensively have to be able to be explosive. And like you said, they've restricted the points. But, hopefully we'll play well offensively and put a lot of points on the board.
Kind of another familiar face, too. This seems like it's a recurring thing. I guess Dakota Thomas is with the Wolfpack. I guess it's just going to be something that's a regular.
Yeah, I think in college football, that's, like you say, it's pretty regular. Guys are going to move here and there as from season to season. And so, we've already faced a couple of our guys already. So, it makes for interesting football, let me say that. But, Dakota's a good player, and so it'll be great to see him.
What did you see from your offensive line in the Toledo game? They gave
Yeah.
Mavericks some really good protection.
I actually
early
thought
on.
they played pretty solid, to be honest with you, against a really good defensive front. And Mav had pretty good time. I thought our offense staff did a good job of recognizing who can change the game for them. Their two edge players could really change the game. I thought we did a good job of chipping and sliding to where we needed to slide. And we need to continue to get better in the run game. That's been a point of emphasis. We like to throw it, obviously, but life gets easier when you can run the ball pretty effectively. So, that's been a little point of emphasis for us. But to answer your question, I thought they played pretty solid.
Right, 50-something yards rushing this last time out. It's probably not going to get it for you. What can you do to improve?
I think, again, just you got to say, what does the defense give you? And so for us, we got to be able to mix the ball. When we do hand it off, we got to have effective runs, and that's 4 or more yards. I think, you go back over the past 3 games, we had too many 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11s, where we're not making the yards at all. So positive runs are a good thing. Even a 2-yard run is a good thing. We got a good quarterback, got a good offense. So 2nd and 8's a lot better than 2nd and 11, right? So we got to try to get those 4-yard runs when we do hand that ball off, and then be able to pop an explosive run. We need to have an explosive run for a touchdown.
If you had to sum it up, what aspects of that Toledo game just really helped lead into the bye week and what you need to focus on?
Say that one more
If
time.
you had to sum it up, what main takeaways, main aspects from that Toledo loss kind of really helped lead your game plan into the bye week?
Yeah, I think, obviously, like we talked about defensively, is stopping the run, and then offensively limiting the turnover piece, and then finishing drives. We got down to the 2-yard line. It wasn't able to put it in on the 4th and 2. And those are big things. I think, we'll make our plays on both sides of the ball, but the critical factors that win the games is stop the run, don't turn the ball over offensively, score. You do those things, you got a great chance to win.
Just looking back to a little bit, I mean, were there any instances where maybe you kind of second-guess yourself and maybe take points on some of those turnovers on downs, especially the one?
I actually thought about it, where we got stopped at the 4th and 2. Do you kick the field goal there? I just felt like it wasn't going to get it done. Toledo's a really good team. You're at their place. You need to change the momentum. So hindsight 50-50, but I think even after looking at it, I would have gone for it. What would I have changed? You got 4 downs. We ran it once. We threw it 3 times. I felt like that's our strength. Maybe trying to pop a run in there one more time. But that's hindsight.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys.